The impact of Hollywood tough guy Charles Bronson extends far beyond his canon of classic flicks. The magnitude of his bequest caused strong feelings among his relatives. Why, therefore, did his bequest bring misery rather than joy? Was it the magnitude of his fortune, the distribution of it, or the tales concealed within? Do not go until you have learned the truth about Bronson's parting present to his loved ones. Charles Bronson, a coal worker from Pennsylvania who found himself cast in villain roles and went on to become a hard-nosed action actor, best known for his roles in the critically acclaimed Death Wish vengeance flicks, has passed away. That was 81 years ago. Charles Bronson was more than simply a Hollywood legend, he was legendary for his powerful screen presence and rugged good looks. Bronson was the unofficial embodiment of the tough guy stereotype during his 4-decade career. His charismatic performances won over crowds. Among the most iconic tough guys of the silver screen, Charles Bronson possessed an icy stare, as if carved from a quarry, and a hand that was perpetually on the trigger of an automatic weapon. Posthumous tributes to the 81-year-old actor recalled his imposing macho persona, peculiarly self-deprecating humor, and the shocking, sometimes disgusting, brutality depicted in his films. With Kim by his side, Bronson passed away at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles. He had been battling Alzheimer's illness for quite some time, but his condition had recently worsened dramatically. After World War II, Bronson, the son of a coal miner in Pennsylvania, found solace in acting, which he used to escape his humble working-class upbringing. He was cast as outcasts, criminals, and gunslingers right from the beginning. An Italian tabloid gave him the moniker Il Brutto, the ugly one, because he lacked the good looks necessary to be a starring actor. He appeared doomed to waste his talent on bit parts. The Dirty Dozen, The Great Escape, and The Magnificent Seven were 3 films that managed to captivate audiences, particularly in Europe. In 1968, he was asked to France to co-star in Adieu l'ami by Alain Delon, and Sergio Leone gave him a role that would define his career in Once Upon a Time in the West. It seems like hours might go by without Bronson uttering a word since he embodied the silent type so well. One time, he was spoofing him on The Simpsons when the show imagined a town named Bronson, Missouri, whose residents stood ominously at doors and uttered the words "It ain't over." Michael Winner lauded him as an exceptionally talented actor, despite his restricted range. An earlier, more level-headed evaluation was made by Bronson. "I dream of the day I can relax with a martini in hand while propped up on an armoire." It wasn't simple for Bronson, unlike other Hollywood stars. In his 50s, he made a triumphant return to Hollywood. The reason for the lengthy voyage was speculated in an interview he gave in 1971. Perhaps casting directors only consider candidates who fit their idealized or stereotypically masculine profile. Possibly no one sees their perfect version of myself. Nothing in his formative years suggested that he would become famous. The coal miner and his Lithuanian immigrant wife had 15 children. Charles Bunchinsky was the 11th. The harsh neighborhood of Scooptown taught young Charles the meaning of nothing to lose after he had already lost everything. The Bunchinsky children wore clothes passed down from older siblings as they crammed into a makeshift home. Charles felt ashamed to wear his sister's clothes to school when he was 6 years old. At the age of 16, Charles went into the mines with his siblings after his father passed away when he was just 10 years old. He willingly took on dangerous tasks for the $1 per ton of coal he earned. A member of the Tuft family from Scooptown, he caused trouble and ended himself in prison for robbery and violence. If it weren't for World War II, he probably would have spent the remainder of his life mining. He was enlisted in the United States Army Air Corps in 1943 and supposedly flew B-29s as a tail gunner in the Pacific. Now that he had seen the world beyond Scooptown, he swore he would never go back. He insisted that he had no innate creative talent and that this was not why he was drawn to acting. He was astounded by the wealth these movie stars possessed. He became a member of the Philadelphia Play and Players troupe and painted scenery in addition to performing in small parts. Bronson supported himself by peddling Christmas cards and toys on street corners as he improved his diction at the Pasadena Playhouse School. After seeing him at the Playhouse, studio scouts cast him as a gob opposite Gary Cooper in the 1951 service comedy You're in the Navy Now. In 1958, Bronson made his acting debut in Machine Gun Kelly, an 8-day exploitation picture. Great Escape, The Sandpiper, The Dirty Dozen, The Battle of the Bulge, The Magnificent Seven, and The Great Escape all contributed to his rising stardom. But he never achieved true fame. Unlike most leading guys in Hollywood, he has a rugged good looks and an aggressive demeanor. Death Wish, released in 1974, was his most divisive picture to that point. When teenage criminals murder Bronson's wife and rape his daughter, his life as a wealthy liberal architect comes crashing down. His executions elicited acclaim from crime-weary audiences, and he swears to cleanse the city of such vermin. Death Wish was a huge financial success despite the negative reception the character's vigilantism received. Bernard Gutz escalated the situation when he opened fire on a group of young people in the New York City subway, believing they were threatening him. In 1987, Bronson defended the 3 additional Death Wish flicks he had filmed. Victims of crime who have waited in vain for the government to intervene on their behalf can find solace in them, in my opinion. However, I don't believe that imitation is something that individuals strive for. Interviews with Bronson could reveal the same reserved actor he played on television. The Hollywood scene remained a mystery to him. Even though I don't have any, I have a ton of friends. The odd and exciting experiences that characterized Bronson's family life were a reflection of his unique and adventurous nature. When Charles Bronson first met Harriet Tendler, he was only starting out in his acting career. The two met while participating in an amateur theater troupe called Plays and Players. Decorations and scenic painting were Bronson's initial interests when he joined the company. A prosperous dairy farmer's daughter, Harriet was both Jewish and strong-willed. Charlie Bukinski worked as a coal miner before becoming a devout Catholic. Nonetheless, he became closer to Tendler and his acting chops over time. Although they went on a first date, Bronson was carrying about just 4 pennies. 2 years down the road, with Tendler's hesitant approval, the happy pair tied the knot. After getting married in 1949, the newlyweds relocated to California to pursue their shared aspirations. Tendler owned stuff in 4.5 of the 5 luggage that Bronson barely had enough to move with. While he was in California, Bronson honed his craft. They were wed for 15 years before he filed for a divorce from Tendler in 1965. Before their divorce, they had a daughter named Suzanne and a son named Tony. During the height of his career, Bronson took another stroll down the aisle. He began an affair with Jill Ireland, who would later become his wife but was married to David McCallum. Ireland and Brown later were married in 1968. David McCallum, star of NCIS, went through a rough patch after his marriage to Ireland ended. Not until 2016, almost half a century after the divorce, did he discuss the impact it had on him. McCallum proved that he had moved on and didn't even harbor resentment when his ex-wife went to live with Bronson. The dramatic escape brought the star of Bronson's film into contact with Ireland. While filming, Bronson allegedly threatened to steal McCallum's wife. Nevertheless, for a long time, this was only conjecture. In response to questions on this, McCallum clarified that nothing of the such had transpired. Bronson was mentioned by him. It was a tough time, McCallum acknowledged, even if he was polite about his ex-wife's connection with Bronson. The fact that he and Ireland had 3 children was something he divulged. Jason was the eldest of 3 children adopted by the couple. Ireland was given custody of the children after their marriage collapsed, which made things much more difficult for McCallum. Jill Ireland shared the same aspirations as McCallum and Bronson, to become a famous actress. However, romantic love was always an option. The marriage of Bronson and Ireland created a new family dynamic. From his first marriage, he had 2 children, and from hers, 3. Zulika was their daughter, and they also adopted a daughter. Katrina Holden, their adoptive daughter, was born to Hilary Holden, a casting director who tragically passed away from an unexpected heart attack. It might appear that Bronson was too busy with his children to adopt Katrina, but he actually did. Ireland co-starred in 15 films with Bronson, and she frequently played his leading lady. They would frequently base their house wherever filming took place, taking all the children there to keep the family close. In addition, they often visited a Vermont historic farmhouse where Irish people trained their daughter Zulika to show horses. Snowmass, Colorado was also their winter holiday destination. Jill Ireland came home to their Malibu home in May of 1990 after a long fight with breast cancer. In 1986, she received her initial diagnosis. But in 1989, the illness returned with a vengeance. At the age of 54, Ireland passed away. Bronson wed Kim Weeks, a former actress and employee of Dove Audio, for the 3rd time in December 1998. Weeks helped produce Jill Ireland's audiobooks. After marrying for 5 years, Bronson died away. Weeks was his wife. There were many highs and lows, loves and grief, and triumphs and tragedies throughout Bronson's life, much like a riveting film. The path ahead was fraught with insurmountable obstacles. What remains, though, is the question of what he left his loved ones behind. Charles Bronson was a highly paid actor in the United States who had a career lasting over 40 years. Acting was the main source of income for Charles Bronson. He appeared in numerous critically praised classic films. As an actor, he has also amassed a substantial fortune. While he was at the height of his career, he was named the best paid man in the world. His cinematic credits include Death Wish, Chino, and The Stone Killer, which brought in up to $1 million for him. St. Ives, released in 1976, was the last film in which the macho actor earned $1 million. After earning $2 million from the 1983 film 10 to Midnight, Bronson's value further doubled. Bronson has been in a number of TV episodes in addition to his film roles. His television credits include recurring roles on the crime thriller Miami Vice and the Western series The Magnificent Seven. In 1985, Bronson was nominated for an Emmy Award for his performance in television. Bronson made almost $50 million from his acting career. Bronson was a successful real estate tycoon in addition to an actor. He possessed a property in Colorado in addition to his Malibu, California, residence. Bronson was also the proud owner of a fleet of vehicles and motorbikes. When Bronson passed away, his fortune was reported to be $20 million. Strange and lavish presents from devoted followers are common for celebrities. But Hollywood actor Charles Bronson received one of the most lavish fan presents ever. A Louisville woman left Bronson her whole $300,000 fortune in a handwritten will in 1996. He was her favorite actor. The New York Post reports that Audrey's estate has $300,000 in value. Surprisingly, though, it came to light that she had left Charles Bronson her whole wealth in a handwritten note. Under no circumstances is my mother, Helen, to inherit anything from me, blood, body parts, financial assets, etc. She made it clear that she did not want her mother or any of her relatives to profit from her wealth. Even though she had never met Bronson, Nauver watched all of his films religiously and preserved a dossier of press articles mentioning him. She was a frequent user of the Louisville Free Public Library's video rental service, and she especially loved his Death Wish films. Nauver left some of her estate to Bronson after she passed away. When her surviving relatives learned of the magnitude of the bequest, they challenged the will through her sister Nancy Cooper. The fact that Nauer left her fortune to Bronson in a will raises questions about her mental stability. The family countered by presenting a 1977 document that Nauer had signed and witnessed, claiming it should take precedence over the handwritten will. Upon her death, Nauer had stipulated in this previous will that her possessions should be distributed among her kin. According to Copper, Nauer was not of sound mind when she made the decision to leave Bronson all of her possessions since she couldn't make that decision. She implied that Audrey's obsession with Bronson was so intense that it bordered on madness. She spent many hours researching him at the public library, becoming completely obsessed with his films and public life. It was Bronson's original intention to give the money to the library. The gift would have been among the most substantial in the history of the organization. The library, however, received no compensation whatsoever from the out-of-court settlement between Bronson and Copper, the amount of which was never disclosed. In 2003, at the age of 81, Charles Bronson went away. He had a net worth of $65 million back then. Throughout his life, Charles Bronson gave away millions of dollars to various charities. His charitable contributions span several fields, including pediatrics, animal rights, and cancer research. An estimated $10 million was donated by Bronson to various charity causes. Some of the groups that benefited from his generosity include the American Cancer Society, Children's Hospital Los Angeles, Humane Society of the United States, and the National Rifle Association. The lives of countless individuals were profoundly affected by Bronson's generous contributions. His selflessness and devotion to helping others will live on in the memories of those he touched. Multiple marriages, a tendency to keep his wealth under wraps, and an unstable personal life were hallmarks of Bronson's life. Then what happens to his bequest? His inheritance will catch you off guard. Charles Bronson's will, which he left behind after his death on August 30, 2003, would explain how his enormous wealth was distributed. On September 15, 2003, his will was proved, and it was revealed that he had distributed his wealth among his relatives, acquaintances, and a handful of nonprofits. Much of his estate went to his relatives and close friends. After his death, his wife Kim Weeks would have financial stability thanks to the 10% she received. As a father, he clearly cares about his daughter Jennifer Nas because she got 5%. A 5% was also set aside for Bronson's granddaughter, Christina Kronberg. He was able to provide for his family with these shares. Friends and business partners were not forgotten by Bronson. As a token of his appreciation for the long-term working relationship they had as producers, he left Walter Mirisch 5% of the estate. Along with him, Harold Bronson, a reliable associate in numerous of his business endeavors, received 5%. He made sure to recognize their contributions because it was obvious they were important to him. Charitable organizations that held great significance for Bronson were also supported. He showed his commitment to aiding others in the performing field by donating 10% to the Screen Actors Guild Foundation. Perhaps impacted by his personal experience with lung cancer, he also gave 5% to the American Cancer Society. These bequests demonstrated his wish to continue helping others and making a positive impact long after he had passed away. The bulk of Rosen's estate went to his wife, Jill Ireland. Tony and Zulika, who are Bronson's children, also received a share of his wealth. After Ireland passed away in 1990, her fortune was reported to be $40 million. In addition to receiving a piece of Bronson's fortune, Tony and Zulika were left the bulk of Ireland's estate. After Tony Bronson passed away in 2008, his fortune was believed to be worth $10 million. The only heir to Bronson's estate is Zulika Bronson, who is still alive. After all these years, we know a lot of you are wondering, where is Zulika? Zulika has never made a public appearance, in contrast to her award-winning sister Katrina, who has been in and out of the spotlight. So far, our best guess is that Zulika currently resides in the City of Angels in California. At the moment, she has no fiancé. The reason she chooses to keep her private life away from the public eye is that she wants to enjoy a tranquil existence unencumbered by media attention.